U.S. immigration attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your questions, and I also have an update for you regarding that bill that's in Florida called the SB 1718. So, unfortunately, it's not good news. On Friday, April 28th, the Senate in Florida, the Florida Senate, passed the bill. They approved the bill to move forward to criminalize undocumented immigrants in Florida, and also criminalize those who assist undocumented immigrants. Meaning, if employers hire undocumented immigrants, they could face penalties. Anybody who lives or transports an undocumented immigrant could face a criminal could face fines and criminal punishment. And also, hospitals must gather information on the immigration status of individuals who are going in for medical help. This has passed the Senate. It has one more step here, and the other step is the House. But there have, a lot of crazy things are happening in Florida, and it looks as if it's going to go through because the Republicans in Florida have a supermajority, meaning that the supermajority in the House and the Senate in Florida. And that means that they're passing all sorts of crazy laws that are really going against the bedrock of America, but they're passing these laws. So there's the abortion ban that just went in at 6 weeks, which most women don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. So it's basically a ban on abortion. We have they are targeting education, the whole anti-woke movement. So they're now trying to prohibit the teaching of critical race theory in schools in Florida. And now they are targeting undocumented immigrants so that undocumented immigrants, I guess they're trying to deter undocumented immigrants. However, it's not going to deter undocumented immigrants. It's going to endanger on human beings. Because I am an attorney, I work with individuals who are mistreated, who are abused by their relatives, by acquaintances, by employers. And these kind of laws, this law that criminalizes undocumented immigrants is exactly the tool that traffickers use, that abusers use, that relatives, acquaintances, people who are trying to exploit undocumented immigrants use to keep them quiet, to keep them in the shadows, and to keep them compliant with their demands. It's going to make things like trafficking worse because now individuals like employers, yes, it criminalizes, it criminalizes individuals who hire undocumented immigrants, but that has never stopped employers from hiring undocumented immigrants, especially seeing that here in Florida, where there is the very demanding hospitality industry that they need labor, they are always going to hire undocumented immigrants to help to make up for the labor shortages. And what that means is they're going to now use this against them to say, if you don't do this or don't do that, I can report you. Or they can hold it over their heads. They can remind them that they could face criminal penalties for being undocumented or for trying to enforce their own right to report any mistreatment. So it's going to make things worse. And for spouses and relatives who mistreat I work on these cases every day. I know exactly what they say. And now they have a law that is there's a legal basis for what they're going to use against their relative or use against their spouse to say that they will get them deported or get them arrested for being undocumented. But here's the solution here. Even though this is a Florida law, it doesn't go above the federal law, and federal law is immigration law. That means that if you are facing this kind of mistreatment, they still cannot use this law against you. You can still seek relief, immigration relief, under the federal law. The federal law is more powerful than the state law. So if you have an employer who is now going to start using this law, saying, hey, you better keep your mouth shut because now everybody's going to go to jail if you report this, not true. We can still go ahead and apply for immigration relief. And this state law is not going to affect your ability to get the immigration relief based on the mistreatment, based on the abuse, based on the exploitation that you're going through. So I want to be able to inform you that even though they're passing this law in Florida, it is a law that is right now, it's only in Florida. And that means that if you are entitled to immigration relief because an employer is mistreating you, because a spouse is US citizen or a legal permanent resident spouse is mistreating you, or because if an intimate partner is mistreating you, then you can still move forward with this. Do not let this law, once passed, which at this point, I think it's going to, my opinion, based on the trajectory on which it's going, I believe it's going to pass. But do not make this law stop you from seeking immigration relief under federal law, which is national law. It's more powerful, it's stronger, and it's going to always trump this Florida law, right? So you can still apply to the US government, for not the Florida government, the US government, for relief. And now is the time to do that. If you have been following me for a while and you have seen my videos about how you may qualify for immigration relief, even if you cross the border without permission, even if you're here undocumented, give me a call and let's get started. Another reason that you should really be considering moving, even though you can use this information to empower yourself, that an employer, even if it's illegal to hire an undocumented immigrant in Florida, you still have rights. You still have rights in front of the federal government. Before you still have employee rights. They cannot mistreat you. No matter what Florida law says, under federal employment law, they cannot mistreat you like that. Even if you're undocumented, you have rights. You're still entitled to get your wages, the rightful wages in the state. You're still entitled to be treated with respect. You cannot be forced to do anything that you don't want to do. And if you are in a situation or you find yourself in this situation, just know that this is not a national law. And so you can, if you're in Florida, you're being subjected to mistreatment by a US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, by or by a parent, or by a citizen's son or daughter who's 21 and over, or if you're being mistreated by an employer, if the employer is now starting to use this law or use their power to force you to work or to threaten you or to say they're going to call immigration, just know that they still can't do that. I don't care what this law says. They can't do it. Under federal law, they can't do this. So if this law is supposed to go into effect, which I think it's coming, it will be going to effect on July 1st. Do not let this stop you from getting medical assistance. Don't let it stop you from calling the police if you're in trouble, because at the end of the day, your safety is number one. And this is the kind of harm that this law is doing, is that it is making individuals go back into the shadows. If you're here and you are in trouble, your life is in danger, you may still think twice about calling for help. If you are, being mistreated by an employer, you may think twice about getting the help you need. And I'm here to tell you that this is what I help my clients with. And many of my clients, when they start with me, they're scared. They don't know what to expect because there many of them are undocumented, many of them don't have their papers, many of them did come in without inspection, and then they find themselves in situations like this. And I want you to know that in these situations you can still reach out for help, because this is what I do every day. And my clients, they start out scared, but they're very reassured as they go through the process, and they realize that they are indeed safe. Another thing is, when you are currently applying for your status, you do get your work permit, you do get your social security number. You are in a space where nobody can touch you, even here in Florida, because you're currently working on getting your status here in the United States. So that work permit and the documentation that you can show from applying for relief is also going to provide you a safe harbor. It's prevent and this is the reason that the federal government has this protection, is that they want to make sure that what you can apply for this relief, and when you do apply for it, that you are protected in the meantime while you're applying to get your green card or get your work permit. So, if you would like to go ahead and let's talk about your options, let's be proactive and figure out solutions here. If you have any questions at all about your particular situation, go ahead and schedule an appointment with me, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. You can go to the link in the profile, and you will see everything you need. There's a button that says schedule your own appointment, really easy. You can also call the office, and they will put you on to a scheduling coordinator who will be more than happy to help you to schedule your appointment, so we can talk about some possible options here for you, and walk you through how you're going to be able to get your work permit, get your green card, get your status here in the United States. Now, as someone here is saying, I don't fully understand the bill. If I entered legally, does this also affect me working? If you are currently here, you're in status, then this does not affect you. You're not considered undocumented. However, if you overstayed your visa. So if you have your visa and you stayed over the time you were supposed to, that they stamped in your passport, this also applies to you. So it's not just people that snuck in, by boat or by through the border. This applies to everyone, including those who have overstayed their visa, no matter what type of visa it is. What's the next step after marriage for an undocumented immigrant who marries a US citizen? So you'll have to go ahead and be proactive and apply to the USCIS. If you're here in the United States, apply for adjustment of status. And of course, you have to meet all the requirements. And this is where the consultation is going to be very important to make sure you qualify in every way. Uh, I send permit expedite request through VAWA and adjust status, and my request has been approved on 4/4/23. When should I expect the work permit? Thank you. So you could expect it in a few weeks or so. But call them. If it's taking too long, go ahead and call them and see where it is. All right, I'm going to scroll through on Instagram and answer some questions, but keep putting those questions in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So put those questions in, and I will go ahead and answer as I go through your questions. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was the VAWA. Right now, VAWA, I'm noticing that they are taking things are delayed right now, and usually that comes with an uptick in applications, and they may be backed up and really busy. Or after. So first we have the receipt notice when you apply for VAWA, and if you've been following me for a while, then VAWA is the Violence Against Women's Act, and it is a form of immigration relief available to those who are being mistreated by their U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, parent, if you're under 21, under 25 in some cases, or by your U.S. citizen son or daughter who's aged 21 and up. So this could be verbal, it could be mental, it could be emotional. Does not have to be physical. Police don't have to be involved. You don't have to report it first to be able to qualify for this. But at the same time, VAWA is backed up right now. So what I would say is make sure you get on it. If you qualify, which that's what the consultation is for, once we determine you qualify, we get started right away because you don't want to delay applications, especially in this sort of climate where the federal government is working really hard to try to make this system fair. They're trying to work on speeding up processing times, and they are really trying to open up take down barriers for those who are undocumented or those who are experiencing mistreatment, but they're afraid to apply. So go ahead, take action, and get started with me so we can take this journey together, because I do hold my clients' hands the entire way through the process. So start with me through a consultation, and then we can get started. And this kind of relief, it enables you to be in a safe space, to get protection. Despite whatever laws the states want to pass, you know that you are seeking the protection of the federal government. And that's what matters here, because they do run the show when it comes on to looking at federal laws versus state laws. The federal law is always going to trump the state law. So go ahead and make sure that you get started with me. All right, let me see. How can you get papers without marriage? So that is a question. This is where the consultation is very important, and this is where I do detailed evaluations for my clients. A lot of attorneys, when you do a consultation with them, they will say, "Are you married?" If you say yes to a citizen, you say no, no can do, nothing we can do. So sorry, um, we can't do anything. That's not my consultation. I don't, and a lot of attorneys don't do this, but I do this. I review every and nook and cranny, every aspect of the person's background that is relevant to my determination about what they may qualify for. And so, a client that's calling me to just say, I'm here and I don't know, I'm not married. I came into the country, I overstayed my visa. There's no, based on what I'm seeing, there's no quick way for me to get my papers. Then I will delve a little detailed. I'll delve more into detail. What I do is I ask them about their history. Who have they been staying with? What have they been doing for work? And you'd be surprised what is revealed in these appointments. You don't want to go back to your country. I see you overstayed. Why is it you don't want to go back? What are you afraid of? And the facts that come out, these kinds of facts, this detailed evaluation allows me to find other ways to help my clients to get status here. This is why I say the work that I do is life changing, because not a lot of attorneys do this. Some attorneys find the easy way out, which is go find, one client said to me that she sought an attorney for help, and the attorney told her to go find a boyfriend and get married. I mean, how atrocious is that an attorney would say such a disgusting thing? And that's what this attorney said, because some attorneys, they don't do these kinds of detailed, they don't even know this relief is available. I've heard other attorneys say that they should go and stick it out with an abusive spouse, just get it that way, it's easier. And this person subjects themselves to dangerous conditions to try to get a green card with someone who is, at the end of the day, probably not going to get them the green card. So that's the difference between the consultation that I do for my clients and then the consultations of some other attorneys. Is they are very surface. It's very surface, and because of that, they don't get to screen them for the relief, the kind of relief that is possible that they just don't know about. How can you get your green card without marriage? That's where the consultation is going to come in. Is we have to figure out what your circumstances are. Can you still be able to travel through airports in Florida domestically? So the airports, the staff, they're not. It's not run by state law. Even though it is in the state, these are federal officers. These are officers that work for the federal government. So they're going to be going about business as usual. However, we have to see what this looks like, right? Because it doesn't, once this law becomes, once it becomes effective, which is slated to become effective July 1st, is it safe going on the way to the airport? Remember, you still have the sheriff's office that they still do law enforcement activities around the airport. And so if they stop you on the way, and now they are going by a state mandated law to check your status. Maybe they target airports because they know that undocumented immigrants are going to be traveling in and out. So when you're in the airport, going through the TSA officers, they're considered federal employees, meaning they're following the federal law. But then in and around the airport, you're still going to have law enforcement that they have their own mandate under state law. So I would say that we have to see how this plays out, but definitely you have to be cautious, because the law is going to mean that they can possibly check your status now. The state officers can check your status if you're walking into the airport or you're driving into the airport. So that's where it could be harmful to you. How many days is the wait when you apply asylum before applying for EAD? So 150 days is when you can start applying, and then you have to wait 180 days for it to be issued. I mean, at the 180-day mark. So at the 150-day mark after applying for asylum, you can apply. Then at the 180-day mark after applying for asylum, they will go ahead and issue your after 180 days. Doesn't mean you're going to get it right on 180 days. What's the next step after marriage for an undocumented immigrant who marries a citizen? So usually adjustment of status, where you get to stay here and get your green card. For the new bill in Florida, if you are married and paperwork pending, does that apply for the person? So I believe an earlier text of the documentation, it did indicate that those who were applying for permanent residence, in the process of applying for permanent residence, would not be affected by this. So you have your work permit, you have your social security number, then that means that you're not considered undocumented, right? You may be in this gray area, but you're waiting to transition over to be a resident or to have another status. So it wouldn't apply to you in that case. So this is why, and this would apply to the federal government, because the federal government is the one that would be giving those benefits. So this is why it's important to explore your options to seek protection under, or to start applying for your options now. So you have, you have that protection. I got my prima facie March 2023, biometrics April 25th, VAWA case C9 category. When is expected work permit and the advance parole? So for VAWA, which because you said you were issued a prima facie, the prima facie determination letter is like a pre-approval letter. Because you received it already, I'm assuming this is the VAWA, and you said VAWA case. It's taking anywhere from 6 months to up to 12 months to get it. So start now, because don't think, oh my gosh, that 12 months is so long. No, it means the sooner you start, the sooner you get it. The longer you wait, the longer it's going to take, and processing times could get longer. So get started now. If you don't have any SSN, you just got married. No. So being married to a citizen is not going to protect you from this law. Just being married. As a matter of fact, there is a question about, well, what about family members of undocumented immigrants? Because they're saying that they're going to criminalize people who want to transport undocumented immigrants too. There's that thing, that nonsensical, illogical aspect of this law that is basically not only putting the undocumented immigrant, a human being, in a situation where they feel like they uh, can't be fully somebody, but they also have to worry about the family members have to be worrying about their well-being and safety in all of this, and what will happen to them, if they're caught driving with their relative, or if their relative is helping them with their business. I applied for asylum in January 2022, and I have not yet scheduled for my first interview. So, yeah, it does take a while to get that interview. Could take years, actually. So, you probably will find yourself renewing your work permit until then. All right. So I don't see any more questions. I'm going to head out for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks everyone for your time, for hearing me out today. Just go ahead and start exploring your options with me. And, based on what's going on, they are issuing travel advisories about coming to Florida right now. Didn't think I would live to see this day, especially seeing that so many immigrants are here in Florida. This is the reason I live in Florida, is because so many I get to connect with my Jamaican culture here in South Florida. And I'm pretty sure it's the same for so many other immigrants who are coming from close by, from the Caribbean, from South America, from Central America. And to think in this day and age, for a state where immigrants, whether undocumented or not, have contributed so much to Florida, to the economy, to the industries here, that they would turn around and target undocumented immigrants. I just never thought that that was even a possibility. But we're here right now, and just go ahead and take those steps to protect yourself, to get advice, to figure out what you need to do to be in a good position. And that's what I'm here for. All right. So have a good one. Um, So Tamara says, thank you for your work. I have a question. We're moving to Miami, Florida from Tennessee in mid-June. We applied for AOS. What if you don't have an SSN yet and other documents? So if you are currently applying, my understanding of the text, and I'll have to just make sure to check if that changes, but my understanding of the text is that if you are in the middle of applying for status here, then it would not apply to you. So even if you don't have your SSN, you don't have your work permit yet, If you're in the middle of going through the process, it doesn't apply to you. But if you are not in any kind of process and you're undocumented, whether you overstayed or not, whether you are married to a citizen or not, and you haven't started anything, then that's where it's going to affect you. All right. Have a good day. You're welcome, Vicente, and it's always nice to see you. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.